all over this country, people are looking for hope. And we know the truth about hope. Real hope is scarred. Real hope is wounded. Real hope has to be resurrected day after day. Real hope is the conviction that despair will never have the last word. And here I'm in a state where I see what the powerful people in powerful places are trying to do. They're trying to beat you, unseat you, cheat you, and defeat you. But I see a room full of people that are saying with a chorus of conviction, no way, not today. I will not give up on my democracy. I will not give up on my nation. I am a Texan, and I'm going to show you fight like you have never seen before. When y'all invited me down here, I said, look, I may try to come down and inspire some folks, but you've been my inspiration. The whole country saw when they tried to do mid-decade redistricting. We saw the fight of the people from Texas. Folks who said, we are not going to let you do this without a fight. And it inspired state after state to rise up and follow your example. They wouldn't be working so hard to cheat you. They would not be working so hard to change the rules if they knew they could win a fair fight. But the history of Texas is a history of often when the fight wasn't fair, we rose up and won anyway. You see, you all have heroes from this state that have been inspiring people in every generation. Like Henry González, who inspired me in my 25 hours because when they were trying to push legislation to continue desegregation in this state, he stood up and said, no, hell no, not on my watch. Barbara Jordan. I was a young man in New Jersey watching on one of those televisions that you still had the rabbit ears on it. And I saw her stand up to the most powerful man in the country. During Watergate, when we had a corrupt president, sounds familiar. She was the one that stood up and demanded accountability in this country, and she got it. And there's one Texan that my mom and dad told me about. They told me about him because he was the man that didn't originate the idea, didn't originate the saying, but when the moral moment came and history had the spotlight on him, a light that was brought by people who marched through Texas, by people who marched over the Edmund Pettus Bridge, by people who died like Goodman, Cheney, and Schwerner, like people that died like the 4 girls in a bombing in Birmingham, when people said, we the people will not stop until the powerful people listen, that man, Lyndon Baines Johnson, stood up and joined with the chorus of our country and spoke a truth that was true then and it's true now. We shall overcome. And so here I am, deep in the heart of Texas, and I'm here to tell you all that we are at a time in our country where we need Texas more than ever. We need Texas. We need the spirit of Texas coast to coast. And so let me tell you this. A lot of people are trying to pit Democrats against each other. A lot of people want to highlight the fact Let me tell you the difference between Democrats and Republicans right now. You see, Democrats believe in free speech. We see people in our country that have the courage to stand up. We should applaud that and celebrate that. A lot of people right now are trying to paint the Democratic Party and insinuate division and differences before us. I'm one of these people that believes very clearly, if everybody in your coalition agrees with you on everything, then your coalition isn't big enough. You see, we as Democrats think diversity is a strength, not a weakness. We are folks that think diversity is one of those things that brings together a chorus of conviction and ideas that help to make us strong. And so I'm going to tell you right now what this moment is about. When the cause of our country is clear, when this is a moral moment, I want you to know that the front lines for the fight for America is right here in Texas. The sun may rise in the east, but hope is rising in Texas. Now let me tell you what I mean, because I think the National Party needs to recognize why we should be investing so much more in Texas. Let me tell you this story. When I was in high school, I was sitting in an auditorium smaller than this, but in seats like that, and a speaker came in and said, I want everybody to raise your hands as high as you can, and we all complied, and they said, come on, as high as you can, and we said yes. And then the speaker paused and said, now I want you to go 3 inches higher, and it was amazing. I squeezed out 3 more inches, and one guy even stood up in his seat, and he made this point that in life, in tough fights, you can always give a little bit more. Well, I will tell you right now, years later, I was a college student. I was a football player out in the Pac-10 at Stanford. And I will tell you that I decided to do the same thing with a group of kids. And you had these young kids all lining up. I asked them to do this exercise, and they refused. It was tired. It was the end of a day. So I decided to resort to a form of persuasion often associated with people here on the Republican side that are running for Senate. I decided to resort to bribery. So I pulled out a $5 bill and said $5 to the kid that could raise his hand the highest. And amazingly, all the kids' hands shot up. They were capitalists at their heart. They did the cost-benefit analysis and raised their hands. Well, I was so inspired and feeling this sense of smug satisfaction until I saw the youngest of all the kids. He was short and a cross between Gary Coleman and Webster. He was so cute. And I went over to go just pat him on the shoulder saying, I know you can't compete, you can't get your hands the highest. But as I took a step over to him, he runs to run out the door. And I run after him and grab him from behind, and he's wiggling to let go. And he says, let me go, let me go. I go, Robert, what's wrong? I thought that he was running away from the exercise because he couldn't compete. And he's just wiggling at me and says, let me go, let me go. And I go, why? And then with the wisdom that betrayed his age, he looks at me and he says, you said you'd give $5 to the kid that could raise his hand the highest. And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, I know a way to get to the roof. I gave him the $5. Texas Democrats, you all right now are the ones with the vision our country needs. People have underestimated you. People have assumed that you could not win the impossible fight. But you all are not satisfied with just winning some offices in competitive races. You all in this election are saying to our nation, we will win in Texas. We will rise up to this challenge. We will fight through. We will make it to the roof. And we will show America what is possible if you never give up hope. I believe in Texas because I believe in America. I believe in Texas because I know our history. I know the strength of the party here. And when you win your elections and show them that they're cheating with their House of Representatives won't work, and you're the reason why we take back the House of Representatives from the Republicans, people will know. And when you elect Tallarico to the United States Senate, When you elect Tallarico to the United States Senate, all of America will stand up and show their awe and their respect, because you won't just take Texas higher, you will take America higher. And that is the call of the moment, Texas. There was a great poet that said it: you may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust, we rise. I call upon everyone in this room. They are now trying to tell us that we are powerless, that the odds are stacked against us, that we can't make a change. But American history is a perpetual testimony to the achievement of impossible things against impossible odds. We are all a people who our ancestors speak to that ideal. Whether you come from an immigrant in Europe, or an immigrant from Mexico, or you're from slavery, or a native person to this land, every one of us have stories of wretchedness and hurt and pain and trauma. There are people trying to erase that history right now from America. They're trying to pull down the testimony to the pain, and what they're doing is cheapening the story of America. They're whitewashing our history and taking away the truth that we are a nation that in every generation has overcome insurmountable odds and achieved impossible things. We need to remember that right now. Look, this is not about left or right anymore. It's about right or wrong. Are we a nation for the favored few or for the mighty many? Are we a nation where healthcare is a right, or does it drive us to bankruptcy? Are we a nation that believes that the gateway to democracy begins with public education and equal opportunity? Or are we closing it off by defunding our schools? Are we a nation where work pays and we banish that obscenity of there ever being in America a working poor? Are we a nation that believes people should be able to retire with dignity? Are we a nation that believes our brothers and our sisters that are here and part of our community and contributing to our economy and making our nation greater should not be sent to private prisons and deported from our nation? This is not about Democrat or Republican. It's not about left or right. It's about who will we be as a nation and who will we be to each other. And God bless those people. We need to pray for those folks who think strength is cruelty, who think strength is how well you could knock someone down. It is always going to be, true strength is how well you can lift people up. Not about demeaning and degrading, but about elevating and celebrating other people. It's time for us to have strong leaders that know the power of love. It's time for us to have strong leaders that know that your job is to make our credo real, e pluribus unum, remind people that we have common cause and common ground, and that the lines that divide us are not nearly as strong as the ties that bind us. That is the story of America. A democracy that was not born because we all prayed alike or because we all looked alike. We broke with the course of human events to put into this soil 250 years ago by imperfect geniuses. We said, let's create a nation of laws, a nation founded on common ideals, that the Declaration of Independence ends with the Declaration of Interdependence, that to make this nation work, we mutually pledge our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. It's time that we return that honor to our politics. It's our time that we live our ideals and don't just speak about them. It's time that when we pledge allegiance to the flag, after our hand goes on our heart, we take our hand and reach out to our fellow man and fellow woman. Leadership is not a title or a position. Leadership is action and example. And this nation needs a master class from Texas now. This incredible diverse state holds the promise of America. What you do in the next 5 months will determine the destiny of America. And we can't wait for other people to do it. We are the heroes that we are looking for. Let me tell you right now, the history books too often get it wrong. We didn't get suffrage in this country because a bunch of men on the Senate floor said, hey fellas, bring it in, put your hands in, suffrage on 3, all right? No, we got it because people worked for it and marched for it. We didn't get abolition because a bunch of folks in Washington decided on it. We got it because a bunch of people came together, sometimes in fear, sometimes in barnyards. They plotted the greatest infrastructure project our country has ever known, the Underground Railroad. That's how we got free. It has always been the people of this nation, because the power of the people is greater than the people in power. And so let me end with this story, one more, because this captures it. There is a storm in our nation right now, but it's often during the darkest of days that we come together and bring upon the brightest tomorrows. There's a storm in our country right now. It's a storm of violence and hate and division, a storm in our nation that we must understand we have to respond to. The best story I have about Savage Storm, you all know them in reality here in Texas. You've seen these weather events. Well, there was one in my state called Hurricane Sandy. And during that storm, I was mayor of the largest city in the state. And I went out in a command vehicle just moments before the full brunt of the storm would hit, just to do one more sweep of my city, just to make sure everything was locked down and to be able to tell folks, get off the streets, go home. And as I was driving around, driven by 2 police officers in a big command vehicle, the wind swayed our car like it was a leaf. The rain and punished our windshield that I could barely see through. And as we're driving on a long straightaway, I get a phone call. Now, forgive me when I say this way, but it was a phone call that I believed began with the stupidest question in America. I answered the phone, and the person on the phone, it was an operator, who said, hello, this is the White House operator. Will you hold for the President of the United States of America? And I'm like, I joke with her, I'm like, who says no to that question, ma'am? And she was only about business. I'm like, come on, who says no? I mean, I might say no now, but I mean, but this was 2012, y'all. I miss Obama. I miss Obama, and I miss her husband too, but I miss Obama. So I say yes. I say, ma'am, yes, I will hold for the President of the United States. And seconds later, I'm talking to my second favorite, Obama. And in the middle of this storm, the President of the United States from the Oval Office, with grace and decency and kindness, is just reaching out to me to check in on the people of the city of Newark. It was very encouraging, it was very moving, and very affirming to my spirit. He talked a little business about FEMA and that they were going to be there with a federal disaster response, but he wanted to know how my heart was and how the spirit of my city was enduring this trial. It was amazing. And I hung up the phone with him, and then my phone rings again. And I answer the phone. Now it's no operator, it's just a voice, and I recognize the voice. You guys have never heard of this person. It was the governor of my state, a man named Christie. You guys have never heard of him. You never heard about him. But this is not a time for partisanship. His heart beats with American blood like my heart, and he was calling for the same reasons as the President of the United States, to check in on me, and we were affirming to each other. I was checking in on him. It was a great affirming conversation, and I hung up with him, and I took this deep breath. I said, that was an amazing American moment for me. But there's a great philosopher who said, not only what you have within can you see without it. If you see no angels, it's because you harbor none. I thought the universe was done with me. That was a great moment. I thought that was a gift. I was really happy, but the universe wasn't done. Because I hang up the phone on that second call, and now I'm looking through the windshield and barely seeing through it. I see at the top of a hill. We're going up a hill now. I see at the top of the hill, through the rain and the wind and the darkness, I see a light. It looked like a big light floating in the sky, swinging back and forth. And I was like, what is that light? And we got a little bit closer, and now I see it's a man swinging a light in the middle of the street. And I'm like, what is he doing? And then we got closer, and I see the top of the hill, the apex, right behind the man. All the trees at the top of the hill, mighty, mighty trees, had come down, and their branches pulled down all the wires, and even the telephone poles got pulled down too. And there is this man standing in front of all of that mess, all of those fallen trees and twisted wires, swinging a light. And we would have slowed down anyway, taken note for the emergency crews, but now my officers pull me right in front of him, and I roll down the window and I see it's an elderly man. And forgive me again, but I yell at this man. I yell at him. I go, sir, what are you doing out here? And this man then looks at me like I just asked him the stupidest question in America. He says, Mayor, Mayor. And he points to the shattered wood and the twisted wire. And he goes, Mayor, I'm standing out here to make sure no one comes along and gets hurt. I had just talked to the President of the United States of America. I talked to the governor of my state. I'm the mayor of the largest city in my state, but I will never forget for the rest of my life that the greatness I saw best exhibited that night in the worst storm in a century in my state, the greatness best exhibited was not the people in offices on high. It was the man who took to the top of the hill in a savage storm to hold up his light in the savage wind to make sure that his neighbors, that his fellow Americans would not get hurt. This is our story. And I'm asking you now, Texas, will you stand up? Will you take to the hill? The storm is savage. The winds are rough. The disaster is real. But will you stand on the hill? America is watching. Will you hold up your light? Will you stand up for freedom? Will you stand up for democracy? Will you stand up for unions? Will you stand up for public education? Stand up for Talarico. Stand up for America. If we stand, if we fight, we win. Thank you.